Hi again, 7th graders. This is a presentation intended to be able to help you with your trade essay, which is one you will do in Unit 3 right after this live class. So let's get started. So trade, the definition of trade is the buying, selling, or bartering of goods and services. So anytime anything is bought or sold or bartered, remember that bartering is just trading one object for another, not using money for it. In ancient times, people traded goods with one another. The people of early empires relied on trade to acquire goods or obtain goods that could not be found or produced within their own empire or country. This continues in today's world. Many of the goods that we use every day were acquired as a result of trade. So the picture on the left shows trading in the early days when goods were traded for each other or objects. And the picture on the right represents what we do today. We mostly use money to trade and to obtain goods that we don't either grow here or make here in the United States or in our country or in our state. So in ancient times, location meant success many times for an empire or a country. The success of trade in the early empires often depended on the empire's location. The geography determined the location of trade routes. Being near trade routes allowed some empires to improve economically. In other words, they got really rich because they were near trade routes when others might have been more rural. Same thing today. If you are in the city, cities have a lot more things, a lot more money, a lot more ways to pool money in order to make better roads and buildings and housing and things like that. When you get out into rural areas, there's not as much money to pool together, so it gets poorer. Same in ancient times. One ancient civilization, Aksum, was located near the Red Sea and the Nile River. So as it shows on that map, you can guess that it would be a lot easier for people in that empire to be able to make and trade goods than people who lived inland more or away from the river more. And more about location, it's a little bit harder to see that smaller map, but there's Aksum. And the Aksumites were successful traders because the location of their empire in East Africa enabled them to trade goods with people of India. As you see, going out through the Red Sea and through the Indian Ocean, if they took goods by ship, they could get goods to trade in India. And in the Mediterranean, if they went all the way through the Red Sea and across that little part there of Africa, they could get all to a lot of countries in the Mediterranean, like Italy and Greece, to trade with. And they could go inland up the Nile River and along those trade routes to trade with other countries in Africa. The Aksumites had access to large bodies of water by which they could sail goods to east to India and north to where they were distributed to the people of the Mediterranean. Like we just discussed, Aksumite land routes reached areas of Central Africa, just like we just discussed. Okay, so your actual assignment here is to think about trade in early empires and trade today. So far in this unit, you've talked about and learned about trade in early civilizations. So jot down your thoughts. In other words, just get a piece of paper and put as a heading on one column early trade in early empires and trade today. Okay, jot down what you know about trade in ancient civilizations, or go back to your assignments and just You don't even have to take notes, just jot down a few ideas about how that was done. And then think about how we trade goods today. And not just in our own communities, but within our state, our country, and throughout the world. Jot down some ideas on that column too. So on the next slide, you'll see some questions to help get you started. If I can get to the next slide here. Okay, questions to answer in your essay. How have methods for transporting goods changed over time? There's a little clue in the pictures on this slide. You can see in ancient times, of course, they did not have cars, trains, airplanes, or big ships to transport goods. They did have ships, but obviously they weren't like we have today. And today you can see that container ship. It's called a container ship because those big metal containers are how goods are shipped all over the world today. So how have methods changed over time? And how have industrialization and the production of manufactured goods affected trade? Remember that industrialization is the creation of factories and the advancement of technology. Okay, how has that all affected trade? How do government regulations and trading blocks affect trade? Don't forget to go back into your last few lessons to refresh your memory on government regulations and trading blocks. How might they affect trade back then and now? Have the benefits of trade changed over time? Don't just answer yes or no on this in your essay. Write in a full paragraph or at least a few sentences about how things have changed. If you say yes, back up your answer with examples of how the benefits have changed. And if you say no, same thing, back up with examples. And how has the construction of canals or roads changed trade routes? Now remember, with all of these, we're not just answering questions in order. We're writing an actual essay. They ask you to write a 200-word essay, which should come out to an essay hamburger. You remember that essay hamburger. So organizing your essay. Remember that the top bun of your hamburger is your introduction. So you're going to introduce your topic. Okay, you're going to be comparing trade in ancient civilizations to trade today. Make a paragraph about that. And then each of the middle meat paragraphs have to be about a detail, answering those questions that were asked on the slide before. A paragraph for each of those. Some of the questions you can combine into a paragraph if they go together. Others need their own paragraph. And then your bottom bun of your hamburger is your conclusion. Okay, you're not just going to end in the middle. You're going to sum it all up and leave the reader with a final impression of your topic. Then edit and rewrite. There's always this. And the little saying over on the right I wanted to read to you first. The beautiful part of writing is that you don't have to get it right the first time, unlike, say, a brain surgeon. Obviously, we're not brain surgeons, thank goodness, so we get to edit and rewrite. So that quote was by Robert Cormier, who is a famous youth author. Anyway, so you have written your essay just like a hamburger, and the first thing you do is read your essay aloud to yourself and think, does everything make sense? If not, change it up a little, add or delete. Did I capitalize where necessary? So not just the beginnings of sentences, but the word I, country names, continent names, all proper names need to be capitalized. Did I use end marks? Okay, periods where they belong, maybe a question mark or exclamation point, but probably not for this essay. And you have to ask, did I answer all the questions in detail and use examples to back up my claims? So that's what's going to make a good essay, is backing up your claims with examples of things that you've learned or things that you know to be true in the world today. And then of course, after you do your editing, you rewrite for your final draft. And questions. If you're watching the recording and you have any questions, you need to contact Mrs. Sewell. Both of my phone numbers are right there. If you are done watching the recording, you need to call me to get credit for this live class assignment. So you are going to just sum up what you've seen in this video. I'm going to ask you a few questions and then you'll be good to go to get credit and to start your essay. And if that is it, everyone is free to go, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.